Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile found...
Imagine waking one morning to find your neighbors writhing and spinning in the streets, not with joy or music, but with a compulsion that seems to strip them of control. Their limbs twitch, their feet slap the cobblestone raw, and their faces twist in agony as if something inside them is pulling the strings. This isn't a nightmare. This is what happened in Strasbourg, France in July of 1518, when the infamous dancing plague took hold of the city. It began with one woman, Frau Trofea, who stepped out into the street and began to dance. She kept moving, hour after hour, for days. No one knows why. She wasn't singing, smiling, or enjoying herself. Her movements seemed involuntary. Within a week, dozens of others had joined her. Within a month, the number had swelled to more than 400. Contemporary accounts describe people collapsing from exhaustion and even dying from strokes, heart attacks, or sheer fatigue. It was no joyous festival. It was disturbing, relentless, and deeply confusing to everyone who witnessed it. The city authorities, fearing divine punishment or mass illness, even hired musicians to accompany the dancers, thinking perhaps the movement just needed to be danced out. But the music only seemed to intensify the chaos. Doctors of the time believed it was a case of hot blood, a medieval medical theory that suggested overexertion of certain humors could lead to madness. Others turned to religion, thinking the dancers had been cursed by Saint Vitus, a Christian martyr associated with epilepsy and nervous conditions. Victims were eventually sent to a shrine dedicated to the saint in hopes that their affliction might be cured through prayer and pilgrimage. Modern historians and scientists have proposed various explanations. One is mass psychogenic illness, a form of mass hysteria brought on by extreme stress, anxiety, or trauma. Strasbourg had been experiencing harsh conditions, including famine and disease, and it's possible that the psychological strain triggered a shared physical response. This happened in other parts of the world too, often in close-knit communities, especially in times of great hardship. Another theory is ergot poisoning, a toxic mold that can grow on rye and produce hallucinations and convulsions when ingested, much like LSD. It's certainly plausible, especially given the medieval diet, but ergot typically causes seizures and visual disturbances rather than hours or days of dancing. Also, if this were the case, it would be unusual for it to affect so many people simultaneously and with such specific symptoms. Despite these ideas, there is still no definitive answer. The records of the time are relatively consistent, and the event is well documented in municipal notes, medical accounts, and religious texts. What's unnerving is that the victims didn't seem to want to dance. They looked terrified. They cried out for help, but their legs kept moving, like puppets on invisible strings. Though it seems unbelievable now, the Strasbourg dancing plague is not the only historical example. Similar episodes were reported across medieval Europe, including in Aachen, Cologne, and Metz. In some of these outbreaks, people danced until their deaths as well. They weren't spontaneous celebrations. They were disturbances that terrified onlookers and baffled the authorities. Even in the 21st century, we struggle to fully comprehend what happened. Was it a psychological phenomena amplified by the stress of poverty, hunger, and religion? A neurological reaction to a toxic food supply? Or something more abstract, perhaps cultural, ritualistic, or symbolic in nature, born from the shared fears and beliefs of the time? Whatever the truth, The image of people dancing themselves to death in the streets of Strasbourg lingers in the imagination like a half-remembered nightmare. It reminds us that the human mind and body can be pushed to strange and terrifying extremes when under pressure, and that sometimes the strangest events in history leave no clear answers, just a warning in the dust of time and a lingering rhythm echoing through the centuries. Thank you for listening to the Shadowland radio show. If you're listening on the Blackwater Media YouTube channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. You can also listen at blackwatermedia.net and the Blackwater Media Facebook page. I'm Dr. William Lester, and I promise to see each and every one of you again on the flip side.